and welcome to the Prospector webinar. I'd like to introduce Rob Carpenter, Jody Gibson. It's an exciting day. Rob Carpenter, who I think most of us remember, responsible for the discovery of 5 million ounces of gold at the Kaminak Coffee project, which was discovered in 2010. And Rob has made a big splash back in the Yukon with what is one of the most exciting new discoveries, I think, in recent times. Fantastic drill results from the TESS discovery. And with that, I'll pass it on to Rob to run through the presentation.
Thanks, John. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you're at. It's great to be here in Vancouver at the Discovery Group headquarters. Back in those old days of Kaminak, we sat in this very boardroom and discussed drill results and strategy. So it's really good to be back, and doing it with the same people again makes it even sweeter. Beside me is Jody Gibson. He's our Vice President of Exploration. Many of you know Jody. Jody's a longtime geologist. I've known Jody since about 2008. We started working together in mid-2016 to 2017. And then early in 2023, we had a call, and I said, Jody, I'm interested in getting back into the Yukon, looking for some things. Maybe we should put our head together. And one of the ideas that we always were interested in is the high-grade style of deposit. And Yukon is an interesting jurisdiction because it has the full spectrum of grades for different districts. It has low-grade bulk tonnage districts, but it also has very diagnostic high-grade districts. The Coffee District, which John had mentioned, being one. The Underworld discovery, which Jody was involved in, was two. So we put our heads together and we were thinking high-grade, footprint, district scale, something that's going to have the opportunity for multiple discoveries. And the ML project, or Mike Lake, as some of you may know of it, ranked very high. And the project had been dormant for almost 20 years for various reasons, not any one of them being geological. So we thought about it, and we put together the idea, and we acquired the project in 2024. During the summer of 2024, we did some prospecting. We raised a little bit of money, cap in hand, tested our model, looking for these structural corridors, trying to find out, were these high-grade gold trends real, and did they offer the type of width and potential that we thought the market would like. So fast forward to 2025, results were very favorable. In that time, we brought in a strategic investor, B2 Gold. They came in the summer of 2024 to acquire 9.9% of the company, and they've been involved in technical aspects. Some of their geologists had worked on this project in the past, so we're very happy to have B2 on board. And so moving into 2025, we simply started drill testing, and this was our first year drill testing. We finished about 39 holes. 2 of them are in this new discovery we're going to talk about today, TESS. And I apologize if the presentation is a little clunky. It's very fresh. You're the first ones getting it, so I will apologize in advance. I know there's a diverse audience here. Some folks don't know much about us and want to get to know us. Others just want to go look at the drill core. We'll do a little bit of both. I apologize to the people who have been calling this morning that I haven't got a hold of yet. Hopefully later this afternoon, some of this stuff will help answer some questions. But again, we will be available anytime to keep talking about this as we go forward.
And just on the questions, there's an opportunity to through the website to log in any questions, and then we'll attempt to answer most of those questions after the presentation's on.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Mike. With respect to forward-looking statements, we take our disclosure very seriously. And if there are any questions on how we present our data or any of our information, please reach out. In this news release, we put out meter-by-meter assay results just to give people a better idea on what the gross intercepts are. But if you have feedback, please let us know. Thanks. Thanks, Michael. So to those new to the company, John and Jim, Discovery Group founders, colleagues, and former directors at Kaminak as well. Our board, Craig Roberts, as many of you know, and Andrew Rockendale and Ian Parkinson. We have to update this slide, but our new CFO is Jordan Laker. And of course, Jody Gibson, our VP Exploration. So lots of familiar faces, lots of good experience, and lots of leadership in exploration and discovery stories. Thanks. Next slide, please. Just a quick note on the capital structure, because I know there's a lot of bankers on the phone. There's going to be some questions. At the moment, there's about 100 million shares outstanding, and you can see that the main shareholders are B2Gold at 9.9%, and they have participation right going forward. Troilus Metals, who we acquired the property from, owns about 9 million shares. To date, it's mostly retail and insiders that own the stock. I own about 3.5 million shares. I think collectively in this room, that number is much, much higher. Myself, I'm only working on Prospector. I don't have 5 other directorships. Very focused management team, and I'm not even doing advisory for any other companies. So very much focused on Prospector. We've all written checks into the deal. Nobody has fractional share stock. We all have stock that we bought alongside others. Thanks. So a member of our team that's not here today, Luke Howitt. Luke is the other third of our geological team. That's him there in the photo. Luke couldn't be here today. He's back in Ontario preparing for our new drill program on our Devon copper nickel project, and that's going to probably start next week. And Luke is shouldering the quarterbacking on that. For those interested or for those curious, that project is fully funded. We have the money for it. It's not we're not raising money for that project. It's a mid-continent rift copper nickel project that we staked ourselves, not encumbered by any royalties, and we're going to be the first ones to drill these new geophysical targets. So there'll be more news on that separately as the weeks go on as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Jody, and Jody will talk a little bit about the meters and how we allocated it, and just a little bit about our strategy this year, which was being our first season. We didn't know where the center of gravity was on this. We tested several different targets, and now we're vectoring more into specifically the high areas of interest.
Yes, well, as Rob mentioned, coming into last year, we were just getting boots on the ground, understanding the targets, figuring out the structure, geology. And so when we came into this year, we wanted to do kind of a broad space drill program, test multiple targets. We initially had 5,000 meters planned and just over a $3 million budget. The drill program went exceptional. We ended up finishing 1,600 meters over originally planned, several more holes than initially planned, and all while being under budget. Now, in terms of the ML project and where it's located, we are located in the Yukon, and we're in the Tombstone Gold Belt. So that's the same belt of rocks that host the Eagle Mine, Keno Hill, but more known to the market now, RC Gold, Ormac, and Rogue Snow Line, and then continuing out to the Rackla guys. Where we're located, we're about 80 kilometers northeast of Dawson City. So we're about 25 kilometers northeast of the historic Brewery Creek mine. In terms of access, it is remote, it's helicopter supported, but we're only about 30 kilometers from road access and 45 kilometers from power. The target itself is intrusion-related gold, though as noted in the results, we have exceptional copper as well, which is part of the story. Next slide. Looking a bit closer at the project and the geology. So this is a look with background geology, and you'll notice those kind of pink blobs in the middle on a northeast corridor. Those are all mid-Cretaceous intrusions, and there's at least 4 of them that we know of on the property, along with associated dikes and sills. And associated with these is a very strong east-northeast oriented structural fabric that we've followed up and tested, and a majority of our targets known on the property are lying along those trends.
One of the things that fascinated us from the beginning on this project was gold and copper mineralization occurs in every rock type. So it's not just one restrictive type. And also that big intrusion there is hosted on a major cratonic structure that separates rock units of different ages on other sides. And we've done inversion and 3D magnetics, and these intrusions have tremendous roots. They onion out over several kilometers. So we know we have a system that has a significant 3D depth to it. And the structural corridors that transect every rock type seem to be high angle to near vertical. Sometimes they dip one way, sometimes they dip another way. But the target very much is a structural corridor that transects these rocks. The corridor itself may be several hundred meters wide. And within that several hundred meter wide corridor, we're finding individual zones. And they're stacked or they're parallel. And they may range from 2 meters, 5 meters, up to 30 meters to 40 meters. And you may see several of them. And we'll talk about our Scarn Ridge Bueno trend, where we have a number of stacked parallel structures, and that has a particular grade profile. Across the project, we're noticing that everything's not the same grade. Bueno Scarn Ridge, we seem to be able to get really good intersections in the 2-3 gram area. And the drilling we're going to talk about today at TESS North Vein is an order of magnitude higher grade. So that's why we like this district. Good geometry, good legs, good alteration, gold in every rock type. We're not restricting to the model. We know that we're at the top of an IRGS model, and we know that there's going to be a lot of drilling in the intrusions themselves for that classic style of mineralization. But for right now, the best mineralization we're seeing is in the adjacent rock types in these high angle corridors.
Exactly. No, well, it's in, another aspect of it is we have a variety of rock types across the property. So at the southern end of the project, it's more carbonate sequence of rocks. So you get broad zones of calc-silicate alteration and disseminated to structurally controlled mineralization. Whereas at the northern end of the property, where North Vein TESS is, you're in more of a classic sequence, the highland group of the Selwyn Basin. So these are quartzites, quartz grits, quartz pebble conglomerates, which aren't typically thought of as great host rocks, but that's what's hosting our mineralization up there. So we see a variety of styles of mineralization, variety of rock types, and we still also do have kind of classic intrusion-related targets within the intrusions themselves, which require follow-up.
Yeah, and lots of surface samples, historical and present, that have a good footprint. 2 data sets that we've acquired that have made a big difference are LiDAR and Worldview. As you guys know, LiDAR is a tremendous tool in giving you structural interpretation, and that's helped us define not only the corridors, but the actual mineralizing trends themselves. And Worldview, as you know, is a satellite imagery that detects the different chemical signature of the Earth's surface. And there's not a lot of trees here. There's not a lot of grass, not a lot of swamp, a lot of bare exposed rock and broken up rock. So the Worldview satellite imagery works really well. And we've just recently, later on in the summer, we've dialed into the exact signature of each of these. And you'll hear us talk about this jarosite, which is an alteration mineral that the Worldview has picked up that it is very much coincident with our higher grade mineralization at TESS Northview. And we've been able to crack that code and extrapolate that fingerprint to help us not only define our corridors, but the drilling we're going to need to do next. So here's a photo of the drill. This is drill hole number 31 right here. And you can see it's dip slope parallel. It looks rugged. It's not too terrible. You can walk up and down that very careful. It's not tremendously treacherous. But what you can see is there's a thin veneer of talus, slope, or erbatics. And the TESS discovery is, I want to call it a blind discovery, but I don't really want to say blind because once we knew it was there, the guys went out and they could find evidence of it on surface. You could find a little rusty boulder once you knew where to look. And that helped them actually trace this off of the known zone into the valleys, which we think are the continuations. So, the same lesson I learned every time you explore is whenever you drill a hole, trace it to surface and look for what's there. And sometimes there's no evidence. In this case, it was clear that there was a worldview satellite imagery that was helping us, but diligent rock hammering by this guy and Luke really helped us crack the code and understand what this thing looks like, not only in 3D, but along trend as well.
So when you were initially prospecting, like when you were putting together the original drill program this summer, do you even have a budget for TESS at that point?
We had 2 holes that we were going to drill here. Why is it hole 31, not hole 1? Why couldn't it have been better? Is that what you're asking?
No.
The Scarred Ridge Bueno stuff was drill ready, but we knew exactly where we wanted to collar. This one, we were pretty sure, but we wanted to go out and use the LiDAR to define the structures a little bit more, because it is an area that there's more surface information, where at Scarred Ridge, it's obscured by a thin little like grassy area, and our drilling is really dialed into that feature. Whereas this one, we wanted to make sure that we understood the structure, and so a few days field work and some samples validated that, and then that's how that sounds like fair, right?
Yeah. Well, it's and the north vein had seen some previous drilling. It was all north directed and had some impressive results, 17 meters of 3 grams, some other higher grade results in there. So when we were targeting it, our initial concept was to come back across the north vein because we thought, one, it was dipping the opposite direction, but then from the worldview and the LiDAR, we saw these strong northeast features coming across. So we thought there was a structural control with the higher grade mineralization at north vein. And so we stepped back and we're targeting that and hit the TESS above it.
Yeah.
And then below the TESS, you get 20, 25 meters of dead rock, and then you hit the north vein right where it was supposed to be.
Yeah. One thing we learned, like the idea of the corridor hosting the individual chutes was really validated in the Scarred Ridge Bueno drilling. That's when we said, hey, there's more than one of these, right? So when we went over to North Vein area and we said, hey, well, there's this one skinny little thing known. We know that in this corridor over here, 5 kilometers away, there's stats and they're parallel, and there's soil chemistry and there's rock samples suggesting there's more of them. So the idea is, hey, we know there's a skinny one there. Why can't there be more parallel? And in fact, that's that concept is going to be what's driving our exploration strategy going forward. Is not only are we going to try to drill a fence right across this corridor so we don't miss any, but also when we're moving along trend, is knowing that these things will splay and they may come together. They may porpoise in and out their gold systems. But yeah, to answer your question. After our drilling at Bueno Scarred, we became more confident that this area had that same stacked parallel. Now, were we expecting massive copper and the gold grades? No, that's not something we've seen before. We know there's occasional high-grade gold grades on this project, particularly in this area. There's some multi-ounce material, but we were not expecting 297 grams over a meter, and even if you took that out, it's still 7.5 grams over 43. The amount of copper in there, we had not seen that before, and that's going to be a much discussion over the winter time, is what exactly can we learn from the geochemical variations in that intercept to help us target more. And Jody here, I'll talk a little bit about the intercept and how it varies up hole, down hole, but it's not only is it the best gold hole I've ever drilled, it's the best copper hole I've ever drilled too. And so there's an interplay here. It's not a low grade disseminated system. It's concentrated, and it's concentrated in very definable and traceable structures.
I think you touched on a really interesting point that I was going to bring up. Is that even if you take out that really high grade hit, it's still a fantastic, it's still like a 300 gram meter product intercept. I mean, you look at all those individual hits through there, it's a phenomenal intersection. And I guess the other thing I was going to say is, understanding the structure is so important. And it reminds me a little bit of the early days in the discovery at Coffee, where it was really the LiDAR and getting a sense of those subtle structural things that can unlock a picture. Because at Coffee, until you recognize that subtle difference, it was really the key to making that initial discovery hole there.
Yeah, these things, like, when you got to know what to look for and where to look for it. And it helps when, there's some indications there and you get the combination of data sets. Certainly the worldview. I don't work for NASA or whoever makes those data sets, but I couldn't promote it enough as being helpful to give the signature of these different structural zones. Tremendously helpful. And LiDAR, of course, I mean, it's the number one tool for gold geologists, I think, now.
So test zone, you all seen the numbers as we talked about the consistency of the grade. So we came into the test zone about 62 meters down hole. The upper part of the interval, so the 14 meter section, or the 16 meter section, I think it's 14, that runs 4 grams gold and obviously north of 1% copper. That is more disseminated to massive sulfides. So that's actually the next
photo, Michael.
Next photo, Michael.
This is the up hole portion. That's the start of the intercept right there at the top of that box at 62 meters.
Yeah. And so we have strong sulfide mineralization, sulfidic cross-cutting fractures, clay alteration. You get localized silica flooding with vuggy textures and druzy quartz. Very, very strongly sulfidized system. Very consistent results for both gold and copper. And the kind of basal interval within that, it's not on the slide, had 11.7% copper and 4 grams gold. So very, very high grade. Now, as you vector down hole, the gold just keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger to our lower intercept, where you have consistent, backwards. There we go. Where you have consistent high-grade gold mineralization. You still have strong sulfide mineralization, but this is more of a pervasively calc-silicate altered rock. It's hard to see it in the pictures, but it's cross-cut by stockwork to sheeted black sulfidic fractures. Lots of disseminated bismuth and tellurium minerals throughout this interval, and then culminating in the bottom meter where we had very strong bismuth tellurium with coarse visible gold over that interval.
You seeing any elevated tungsten?
Very spotty. There is tungsten in the system, a bit of tin as well. The other thing about it is when you start looking at the chemistry, and we had mentioned this earlier on Skarner Ridge Bueno when we put out the results there, is we have gold and copper occurring together locally, but then you'll get zones where it's gold only, you'll get zones where it's copper only. So seems to be at least multiple mineralizing events that are utilizing the same structural corridors, and you're seeing overprinting mineralization. Because here, you look at the stats on this intersect, and gold has a 0.99 correlation with bismuth and tellurium. Doesn't correlate with copper at all. The copper and silver correlate together. So there's evidence for multiple mineralizing events geochemical differences between the two, but utilizing the same structures.
Both high grade.
Both high grade.
Yeah, like the upper intercept, the sulfide one, can you just go back to that picture? We haven't seen this before. Like this, like we've seen arsenopyrite, we've seen chalcopyrite, we've seen pyrrhotite, but we have not seen that rock before. And I was lucky enough to be in camp when that came out of the ground, and we all looked at each other. Luke was looking at it, and Jody was looking at it, and we were all kind of scurrying around, and then we all kind of looked at each other. This is like, are you seeing as much copper as I am?
Yeah.
And so we knew that was going to run copper. We had no idea on the gold side. The consistent 3, 4, 5 grams through there, I think was really, for me, surprising. But it just goes to show the strength of that system. And then that grades almost within a meter into that low sulfide arsenopyrite bismutillurium, where you're getting, multiple ounce intervals at the expense of copper. So the chemical zonation here is distinct and observable. We don't know exactly what it means. Certainly it reeks of multiple overprinting systems in that corridor, more than one fluid taking that elevator to the surface.
Yeah.
But as far as model goes, like again, people say, well, is it skarn? Is it IRGS? It's, we're treating this as a structurally controlled gold deposit, and we're using those structural corridors as our key targeting and exploration criteria. But as far as a model, we don't know what it is, but we think it's a really good example of whatever it is.
And we like it.
We like it. So we're not labeling it because we don't want to be vectored into particular models.
But it certainly seems like it's related. There's no question it's related to an intrusion.
Absolutely.
Related system.
Yeah.
It's just, are we on the very top of it with TESS?
Yeah.
And then you've got all these other systems. I mean, what impresses me is that if this TESS isn't a one-off, it's part of a very large mineralized system that we have yet to really figure out.
Yeah, and this year moving in, even drilling hole 1, it was like, okay, what are we looking at? If you're not a good mineralogist, you'll have a lot of problems because there's more than one mineral on this project, and once you know what they are, you can figure it out. The alteration here, this calc-silicate mineralogy, reeks of a high temperature system. But if we were in a greenstone belt, it would be chlorite calcite, right? So it's not strange chemically, but it's that higher temperature equivalent. And certainly, I think when you look at that big intrusion in the middle, I don't think it's a mistake that Scarn Ridge Bueno is on one flank of it and North Vein TESS is on the other flank. It's almost like it's a pressure shadow in a major structural corridor, and the best fracturing and dilatancy seems to be on the margins of that. But that doesn't mean that, even in the middle of that intrusion, we've still seen gold mineralization on surface. So I think we are at the top of the system. Certainly when you look at the topography, we're at the top. And if you trumbled down the hill 500 meters, you could still find gold in veins with calc-silicates and copper. So, the 3D inversion of those intrusions very much show an onion scale on the big ones that go for 2-3 kilometers. There's also dikes, there's also sills, there's also plugs, there's also cupulas. There's every different geometry of intrusion here. Work in progress, what it means structurally, but all of them have different varying gold showings in them. So
yeah, well, and the intrusions themselves, there's various different phases. They range from diorites to quartz monzonites. We have lamprofere dikes coming through. It was a very, very dynamic system.
Yeah, we're not done prospecting either. I mean, the questions are going to be, what are you guys doing next? And it'll be more of the same. There's still, next year, I think we could probably have 6 prospectors working for 3 months and still trying to find new things. Also, baseline drilling on new prospects that we discovered this year, as well as trying to flush out geometry on stuff like this. So I know we're getting to next steps, and some of the bankers might be getting a little impatient. But there is a fulsome program here that would go all stages, right from prospecting right through to putting geometry on some of these things. All right, may as well. So yeah, that we put that photo in the news release, showing little specks of visible gold, not big gaudy nuggety things, but little pinprick specks that you see in and around sulfides and notoriously with the bismuth telluride. That sample is the one that ran the 200 or average, I think the 297.
288.
288, sorry. So we were encouraged by seeing gold that, like there was maybe 15 to 20 specks of visible gold, but the rock ran almost 300 grams per ton, which tells you there's more gold in there than just the visible gold, which from from an exploration point of view is very positive. It shows you that there's a system of fine grain gold here and the coarser gold, not just one size fraction.
Yeah. So just the typical plan map on the right, and then cross section on the left. So on the plan map, you see holes 31, 32. So we drilled hole 31 at a -60 dip, and obviously hit the visuals in the test zone. So we knew we wanted to get another slice on it. We know from our time in the field out there that things are high angle. So we did an overcut rather than an undercut because we didn't want to drill right down it. And so we drilled hole 32 above it. So assays for hole 32 are still pending, but we did intersect similar alteration and mineralization, and that hole starting about 38 meters down hole. Over about 50 meters. It's much more oxidized and bleached because we're closer to surface. But that gave us confirmation that we're looking at subvertical zone. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But below that is the intercept on TESS. So that is open along strike and at depth. And then further down the hole is that 5.6 grams over 7.3 meters with copper mineralization as well. That's the classic north vein. So that's what was historically targeted in the historic drilling. And so it was right where we expected it to be. So once again, TESS is a completely separate zone. And then subsequent to the drilling, we went back out. We did more prospecting along trend, especially to the north-northeast. And so on the plan section, you have that yellow blob. That's jarosite alteration from the world view. And so what jarosite is, but not to bore you with scientific details, is when you're in a high sulfide system and it oxidizes at surface, it produces sulfuric acid and leaches the rock around it, and that's how you get jarosite. And so it's a very good vector for us that we've discovered. So we're chasing it on trend. We do have a number of rock samples along that trend and on corridor that assays are pending, but those will be released in due course as well.
Yeah, the previous drilling here on your screen had gone from right to left, so they wouldn't have been able to reach the hanging wall side of the test. So part of the reason why coming through the other side was we knew the signature was there, and we were looking for this stacked or parallel type system. Now you can see where our hole is there on the left section. There's soil samples and rock samples up the hill from our collar that are high in gold. So we know there's more stacked systems below us, right? So we'll drill a hole next year that might make us look stupid this year, right? So we know that that's a thick corridor with these wide intervals. 32, if we haven't done it already, Michael will post the photos for that on the website. Interesting to look at, well oxidized. Yeah, but you can still see remnants of that high sulfide system that we've seen in 31s. And the big takeaway on 32 was it helped us define this geometry of being high angle. You can connect the dots and put it together. Yeah, what are we missing? That's a lot.
So we've still got how many holes pending? There was one hole pending on test, and then how many other holes are coming?
What, 7? 17?
Yeah, so we drilled 39 in
Oh,
total.
27.
Our first news release covered 11 holes, and that was Bueno Scarn Ridge. And this is our 12th hole that we've released. So we have, of the 39, we have 27, and one of them from TESS. A few other holes from other targets like Fishbowl, Lori Lake, but the bulk of those holes are from the Bueno Scarn Ridge trend, which is about 1.5 kilometers. And we have a map of that we can show you right now, actually. Well, yeah, and just go back to that one, please, Michael. Yeah, no, the next one. We'll show you the jarosite anomalies from the North Vein in a minute, but just to quickly follow up on John's comment, this is this Bueno Scarn Ridge section, and that's hole 10 and 11 on your right, and that was the 2 gram over 40 meters plus 0.5% copper. That corridor is one of many stacked, and you can see our drill pattern on the left. It not only covers that trend for several hundred meters, but covers parallel trends as well. So there'll be more numbers coming out on that. Scarn Ridge, if you look at the numbers and Bueno numbers, 2 grams, 3 grams, 4 grams, 0.5% copper, the numbers so far are like a little baby test, right? The chemistry is, we think it's the same system, same structure, same alteration, different grade profile so far. So let's go back to that image there. This is the one, the map, I think, yeah. So this is the one people are going to want to talk about. And this is our plan map. The scale on that, what would, Michael, you can see that better now. What would be the scale from one side of that map to another? About 700 meters, maybe? Yeah. So in the southern part of the image, you can see those red lines. That's what our interpreted trace of the test zone and the North Vein zone. And you can see the yellow there is the plan, and that's the surface trace of the jarosite anomaly. So you can see why there's pretty good correlation between the valleys, the structures, and where we're seeing gold mineralization directly below. As Jody mentioned, the guys went out subsequent to that and started prospecting these linears and these valleys, and we're finding very similar mineralization on surface to some of the things we've drilled. And those assays are pending, but that's going to also help us vector our program for next year. You can see regionally, a lot going on here. A lot of these samples are historical, a lot of multi-gram gold, multi% copper, good structural traps. We honestly, we do not have the perfect structural interpretation of this map yet. We know what the lower half looks like. We know we see these kind of east-northeast trending structures that trend and transect through the map area, but we think there's an interference in this structure where to the north and the north half of it, there's a different intersection. So we're completing ongoing interp on that. New samples are coming in. But as far as what we're going to be doing next year, we're going to see a lot of this map, and this map could easily see, lots could happen between now and then. But we envision having 1 to 2 drills just on this area, flushing out the geometry of the test zone along trend and at depth, and another drill just looking for new tests right on this map sheet here. What am I missing?
Yeah, you kind of hit all the points, but I mean, one thing to note, and Rob alluded to it, but the colorful squares on there are all rock samples. A large majority are historic, but anything in purple is above 10 grams. So there's a very high population of high grade rocks out here. And, we're just starting to vector in on that. And a big part of that appears to be this jarosite alteration.
Yeah. And a lot of questions on true width of the intersect. You can tell by the core photos, by looking at it, that's pretty good, angle, like, 45 to 50 degrees to core axis, some of these vein trends. By looking at the section, correlating 32 with 31. Our best estimate now, based on all that information, is that 44 meter intercepted test is about a 75% true width, right? Which we feel, as comfortable as we can. So, for all the amateur geologists and geologists out there, take a look at our core photos, take a look at our sections. We're posting it all on the website. But we think that that's the type of target that, looking for on strike and parallel trends, certainly should be there, more of it. So, yeah. It's a lot of fun, eh?
Oh, it's been a blast.
Well, it's an exciting, I think it's just an example of how this evolution of the intrusion related system is evolving. I mean, I was a young geo when I first went to the Yukon looking at Tombstone Suite intrusions, but we always thought that they were going to be 1 gram kind of deposits like Fort Knox, what Victoria had. But now we're seeing with what's happened at Snowline, and I think this is a classic example of something that we don't yet understand fully, but shows that the potential in the Yukon is still wide open. This project, some of these showings have been known for several years, but we're really just starting to scratch the surface of what these can have. And I think what's really significant about TESS is it's showing that, yes, the potential is there for the bulk tonnage, 1, 2, 3 gram, but also, I mean, these are the kind of grades you could carry a wonderful underground deposit on. And we really haven't seen that in the Yukon before. Yeah. I mean, this is, I think, a very significant new discovery.
Yeah, every year the model's evolving, right?
Yeah.
I mean, every year someone's making a great discovery.
Yeah.
Right, and there's been more than one in Yukon, and the textbook hasn't been written yet on all this stuff, and I think having more discoveries, whether it be here or other projects this summer and next summer, is going to be great for everybody.
Yeah. And
I mean, it's these things are, there's a roadmap to them. But when you get there, you have to still drill the hole, and you can be like gold systems, any system, you can know there's a deposit there, not find it and walk away.
Well, it's kind of unusual. Your first drill hole into a discovery is a 600 gram meter product. I mean, it usually takes you 50 holes before you get right into the real sweet spots.
Well, it's a good start, but again, it speaks to the fertility,
and
it speaks to the tenor, right? We can always talk about like Hemlo was discovered on hole 200 or 400 or whatever, but the best deposits in a district typically get discovered early.
Yeah, good point.
So, hopefully that's a good indication. All right, well, that's kind of it.
So a few questions. I guess this is kind of a leading question, but I think it's important for a number of reasons. Explain it, like why do you call it the TESS zone?
Bastard. TESS is named after Craig Finnegan, who was our chief geologist at Kaminak, and those discoveries, and that's his daughter's name.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. Couple of other questions, Rob. You've had a lot of experience in the Yukon. You've got very good relationships with First Nations. Maybe you can speak a little bit about, where the project is, which First Nations are the primary First Nations you're dealing with, and maybe speak to that relationship.
So the primary First Nations are the Trondok-Wichan and the Dawson, and it's the same traditional territory that was in Coffee when we were in Kaminak. There's a small overlap with Nacho Dun. But for the most part, the interaction has been with Trondok-Wichan. We've had them out on site visits. In our permit applications, we always discuss with them first. So we'll, like, for this year, we asked, well, what are your concerns and expectations? So we've already started baseline water sampling and baseline geochemistry. We've already done archaeology. We've done other baseline things that, if the project progresses, would need to be done. We're looking forward to trying to put together some economic partnerships with Trondok-Wichan as well. In Yukon, I think in anywhere, you have to prove yourself that you're going to be working diligently, and you're going to say what you're going to do, and you're going to you're gonna own any and be responsible for what you're doing. And I find in Yukon and Trondheim in particular, responsive when you follow up and do what you say you're gonna do. You drill the holes you do, you say you're gonna clean up the barrels, you clean up the barrels, you say you're gonna interact this way in the community, and you do that. So yeah, it's positive, and I'm excited by some of the opportunities.
Right. Jody, I know you touched on it briefly, but using your experience at Coffee, Rob, like maybe you can speak a little bit more about, in the context of the Yukon, proximity to infrastructure, because we are close to roads, we are close to power. Like maybe you can speak to how important that is in the context of permitting and development in the Yukon.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I think, one of the big issues anywhere is access. And all the First Nations, particularly, Trondac, want to know what your plans are. If you want to build a road, what's your plan for it, and be sensitive to some of the needs. At Coffee, I think we were still 70 kilometers away from the nearest road, and maybe
And on the wrong side of the river.
and on the wrong side of a major river. Here we're about 35 kilometers away from all-weather road access, without any natural barriers, right? So it's not like there's like the Yukon River or the White River, or natural things that we'd have to worry about. So yeah, I think as far as we've staked and expanded the project, so we have all the land we need. And we've already talked about it.
So if I'm gonna fly out and try and scoop some ground
Good
next
luck.
year,
Good
it's
luck.
not gonna
Yeah,
happen.
good luck. But for a possible access route, we're gonna be, this Friday, we're gonna be meeting with the Tronic Wichin, and we're gonna lay out some of the ideas we have and some of the concerns they have, and say, well, we'd like to do the archaeology. We're gonna start doing all this baseline stuff in advance. But yeah, the importance of having access, or reasonable access, to power and all-weather roads. Even though this project, ML, is fly in, fly out, only the drill and the drill core flew in, flew out. We stayed in a camp on a road, and we can continue to do that. We don't have to build a camp, right? We can continue to, with the efficiencies these guys did this summer, we can continue to get that, high production, under budget cost, while still not having to fly people in and out all the time.
Right. So, there's obviously probably the odd banker on this call here. I'm guessing you're gonna get offered, as much money as you want right now. You've got probably $10 million into the money warrants as of today. Money for next year is not going to be an issue. So in Rob's perfect world, what does next year's exploration program look like?
Yeah, I mean, this is the discussion, the fun part we have talking about. And, this year we did one drill, almost 7,000 meters. We could see easily doing 3 drills with triple that next year. One just on the North Vein TESS area, flushing out that geometry, another in that area, looking for more of them, and then a third on the Bueno Scarn Ridge area, and doing exploration. So, the cost this year was about 3.5 million.
Yep.
So if you triple that and you get same amount of efficiency, it should be a $10 million program. And as you mentioned, the warrants that are already coming in, would pay for that.
Yeah.
And we have a hard dollar treasuries that's sufficient as well. So,
and a great partner.
So, with B2, they participated in pro rata in every financing, and technically they see all of our data.
So they're not just a passive investor.
No, I mean, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but they've been on site. They've had good geological context. They're swinging, they're pulling the rope in the same direction as us, for sure. They're a great technical partner, and also when it comes to First Nation relations, they're proactive in that as well. They want to, they're not leading, but they're being proactive, and they're in the meetings we're at with the Trondheim Wichin as well, which we find is a big positive.
That's great. Well, I'm not sure if there's any other questions. Rob, thanks a lot. It's so exciting to be sitting here with you again, talking about another great discovery in the Yukon. I think you and I both would say Yukon is near and dear to our hearts. And it couldn't happen to a better guy. I'm so happy for you and, for all the shareholders that have stuck with us in some pretty tough times. I mean, we're lucky we've got a great gold market right now. And I think this is going to be the discovery story to follow next year.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Gonna be a lot of fun. I always say be careful what you ask for. So the job starts today, right? So, and if anyone has any questions or any follow-up, please let us know. There might be a short delay in getting back. I'm gonna be traveling back tomorrow, and if Air Canada cooperates, I might even be home tomorrow night.
Well, thanks. Thanks, Jody. Thanks, Rob. And thank you, everybody that was able to log on. It's going to be recorded, so feel free to share it to everybody that you know. And more to come.